I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and today we're talking about electric vehicles from Lexus. For the last 15 years or so, Lexus have been selling hybrids here in Australia, and we've reviewed plenty of those here on Chasing Cars. But the next step for this Japanese luxury brand is moving towards full electrification. This beast next to me, it's the LFZ Electrified. It's a concept car, obviously, but it's meant to signify where Lexus will be in 2025 when it comes to full battery electric vehicles. So it has a unique shape, 600 kilometers of range on the WLTP scale, and direct for all-wheel drive. But we're not there yet. Today, Lexus are introducing the UX 300e, which is the small battery electric SUV behind me, which has just over 300 kilometers of range WLTP and is based on the popular UX small SUV. But in today's video, I'm going to be talking about probably the baby step. If you're currently driving a Lexus hybrid, the next step is a plug-in hybrid. And that's because today, Lexus Australia has confirmed that the grey SUV over my left shoulder, the NX 450h Plus plug-in hybrid, is coming to Australia in the first quarter of 2022, along with the UX 300e full EV. So things are moving pretty quickly. In this video, we're going to focus on the NX plug-in hybrid. We've got a full review of the UX 300e on its way as well. And in a couple of years' time, we'll probably be talking about the production version of this LFZ as well. It's a pretty big adjustment bringing a full EV into your life. You'd want to have a garage or an off-street parking space to make it super easy to charge up every night. Lexus are doing things like installing a wall box for you if you buy a UX 300e. If you're not quite at that level and instead you'd like to put your toes into, I guess, running on full electric power, but you still want to have the backup of a combustion engine, that is where the NX 450h Plus is going to come in. Now, you might already be running a Lexus NX hybrid or a Lexus hybrid of some variety. This is the next step you can take. So what we've got is a 2.5 litre petrol 4-cylinder engine. We've got 3 electric motors, 2 on the front, 1 on the back, and they're pretty powerful. This is the most powerful Lexus NX that you'll be able to buy. 227 kilowatts of power. And that's because, partially, we've got an 18.1 kilowatt hour battery, which is about a third the size of the battery that you get in a UX. And that's going to give the NX 450h Plus about 75 kilometers of range in real world driving. Now, we'll wait and see how that range actually pans out when we get a test of this car in the first quarter of 2022. But basically, it's designed to let you do your commute on electric power. And then if you need to go further afield on a road trip, off to the country, you still have a pretty beefy petrol engine to back you up, and of course the ability to refuel it with petrol. Now, for some people, that's going to suit their lifestyle for the next few years, and that's why Lexus are giving a bit more choice rather than kind of pushing 100% towards full electric at this point in time. If you've decided to click on this walk around of the NX 450h Plus, you already know something about the second gen Lexus NX, and you probably know something about plug-in hybrids. So let's dive into some of the more technical points on this car. The one I've got here is a Sonic Chrome NX 450h F Sport. Now, that's no guarantee that the plug-in hybrid will only come as an F Sport, but F Sport makes sense because, as well as being a zero tailpipe emission vehicle when you're running on electric only mode, this is kind of the performance option in the NX lineup. So the plug-in hybrid will sit at the top of the range, and there's going to be 4 engines that you can choose from with the NX. There's a base naturally aspirated 2.5 litre direct injected petrol called the NX 250 that makes 152 kilowatts of power. You then have a hybrid, a standard series parallel hybrid, the sort of thing Lexus has been doing for over a decade. The same with Toyota. That's a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol combined with either 2 electric motors in two-wheel drive or 3 electric motors as an all-wheel drive. And either way, two-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, the NX 350h hybrid makes 179 kilowatts of power and uses about 5 litres per 100 Ks on the combined cycle of petrol. Now, this is where the range splits. There's kind of 2 performance options. There's a 2.4 turbo non-hybrid called the NX 350, not 350h, just NX 350. That makes 205 kilowatts of power, but the 450h Plus, that's the daddy. This one makes 227 kilowatts of power, no turbo. It's just the 2.5 litre petrol, but the electric motors, still the triple, they're more powerful and they're being fed by a much bigger battery. The standard hybrid NX has a small battery, like the RAV4 hybrid or the Camry hybrid. The battery on the series parallel version is less than 2 kilowatt hours, really tiny, designed just to be used with regen braking. You can't plug it in. It just is going to bring your everyday fuel consumption down nice and low. With the plug-in hybrid, it is designed to be plugged in. No DC charging, only AC, likely to be in the realm of sort of 6 or 7 kilowatts, the kind of thing that you could recharge overnight really easily, or if you're the kind of person who works from home, you could do the school run in the morning, the school run in the afternoon, and recharge this thing in between. But I guess the benefit of running an 18.1 kilowatt hour battery on the NX 450h Plus is that with a real world range somewhere around 75 kilometers, you're not kind of running out of electric range in this car as often as you are in something like a Volvo XC60 T8, which has closer to the 40 to 50 kilometers of real world range. Now we have to test all these numbers out on Australian roads to see where it's at, but basically this is our best guess at this point in time. Now, I guess the beauty of a plug-in hybrid here in Australia is that EV infrastructure is still being developed. It's definitely better than it was 2 or 3 years ago, but it's not as plentiful as what you'll find in Europe or even North America. So something like this vehicle, which still has a genuinely useful backup petrol engine for those trips further afield, is going to be appealing to a lot of people. You can let me know your view down below in the comments, whether something like this plug-in NX or that fully electric UX that we saw earlier makes more sense for you. Here around the back, I think we can see that the second gen NX really has like 2 distinct angles. Clearly from the front end, it's quite evolutionary. It looks fairly similar to the outgoing first gen NX that has sold really well. 1 in 3 Lexuses sold in Australia this year have been an NX. It's the company's bestseller by some margin. But here around the back, we have this sort of softer, more organic shape, this really prominent split lit LED light bar across the tail, new tail lights, text type for the badge around here rather than the L mark. And then it's not a huge amount giving it away as a plug-in hybrid. It says NX 450h Plus, but that's about it. It doesn't look like a science experiment or anything particularly odd. It's just a second generation NX. Now, next week, I do have a walk around coming of the NX 350h in a much better lit studio. Basically, myself and the camera dudes have just stolen away to the side of an intimate dinner where we happen to find ourselves next to a plug-in NX. And so you can look forward to seeing a bit more on the exterior design and interior of the NX at that point. But the plug-in hybrid does give us a good look at how this car is going to appear starting next quarter. Now, opening up the power tailgate, we've got about 520 litres of space in the standard car. As for whether the plug-in hybrid loses a few litres here and there, we're still waiting on final specifications, but it looks about the same size to my eyes as the hybrid that I had a look at yesterday. Underneath this boot floor, we've got a space for your charging cables, we've got netting, and we've got a couple of hooks back here, and then just this relatively lightweight little cargo cover, probably not as solid as we might have seen in some of this car's rivals, and this actually might be the thing which is keeping the NX 450h Plus under 2 tons, because curb weight on this car, at least overseas, is 1,990 kilograms. Jumping inside the NX 450h Plus F Sport here, we can see this really lovely, rich interior of the second gen NX. I've got a full walk around coming in a slightly brighter room of an NX 350h hybrid, and you can look forward to that one. Hit subscribe down below. But for now, let's just cover off the basics. As I mentioned, this is an F Sport. That means we get this really cool 2-tone interior called F Sport White. What that actually means is you get this gorgeous 2-tone black and white leather, perforated leather here with heating and cooling. This car probably has an enhancement pack, which is what gives it the sunroof and also a heated steering wheel. Now this car is a fairly early build, so we don't have Mark Levinson audio. Pretty likely that if you go for that enhancement pack, you will also get Mark Levinson, but final specifications are yet to be completely worked out. What we do know though is that wireless Apple CarPlay is standard. We get this huge 14-inch touchscreen on the F Sport and on the Sports Luxury. We don't know yet whether the plug-in hybrid will get a sports luxury trim, but I certainly hope so. Either way, this touchscreen is a huge canvas, takes up almost this entire bezel. We've got lovely knurling for the temperature controls. The fan control is done on screen, but it's really responsive, and the climate panel is always visible, always. It's always giving you fan, temperature, seat heating and cooling. So that's definitely an interesting choice, and will make this car a little bit more easy to interact with than some of the other touchscreen based products we've reviewed this year. You've got keys here on the side to get to your navigation and media and Apple CarPlay really quickly. Looking in front of us here, we've got a nice small steering wheel, perforated on the F Sport, paddle shifters, contrast stitching, looking through that to digital instruments. Now, interesting sense check, this car says it's got about 2/3 battery and it's indicating a range of sort of in the low 40 kilometers. It has been sitting here all night with accessories going so people can have a look at it, but that does tell us that that real world range is going to be kind of above 60 towards 70 Ks. Maybe we'll wait and see and test it out on the road. What else can I tell you about the interior? The seat feels comfortable and supportive. We've got 10 ways of adjustment in this particular car. Lumbar is in, out only and not up, down, but my driving position feels really good. And material quality is soft and supple, everything you would expect from a Lexus. Your knee comes up against a soft pad here. It's all stitched beautifully, all screwed together lovingly. So quality should again be a standout of this particular car. While the GAK platform that the NX 450h Plus runs on is shared with mainstream products like the Toyota RAV4 Prime plug-in, which we don't get here in Australia, there's absolutely nothing that says Toyota in this interior, to be honest. It feels luxury, it feels relatively bespoke. We get real metal here in the F Sport. All looks pretty cool. Really immersive heads-up display that tracks your finger and shows you exactly what function you're hovering on. That's all really cool. So in terms of a driving cockpit, it definitely gets a thumbs up from me. Let's wait and see how it goes out on the road here in Australia early next year. So with a look at the front seat out of the way, let's take a quick look at row number 2. Row 2 of the NX is really spacious actually. So this car is a bit longer than something like a RAV4. It is very similar in the wheelbase though, but what I can tell you is that the knee room is good. So for myself at 6 foot, headroom, really, really good. Interestingly, this NX plug-in just has a porthole sunroof, whereas the standard hybrid and the turbo in the F Sport have a panoramic sunroof. It would be interesting to see what the final version of this car has up there on the roof, but this one just has the smaller sunroof. One bonus being that headroom is good. Legroom behind my own driving position, really generous, toe room's good, and the seat base itself is nice and supportive. In terms of amenities, mat pockets in both seats, soft touch door trims, so really, really nice there. Air vents, no separate climate zone, but we do have an old style USB, a new style USB-C, and a 12-volt socket, and then a flip down armrest here with 2 cup holders. In terms of the view out, the window is big, it's conventional, so you're not going to get car sick there, and the view forward out the front window is pretty nice and unobstructed too. So all in all, for a two-row SUV, it feels nice and spacious here in the NX plug-in. So that's a first look at the 2022 Lexus NX 450h Plus plug-in hybrid. Here's what happens from this point. The new generation, second gen NX, arrives here in Australia in late January 2022. What Lexus Australia have told us about the plug-in NX is it's going to be launching in the first quarter of 2022. It may actually end up joining the rest of the NX range, launching at the end of January, or it may be a little bit later. Either way, we're probably going to find out pricing across the whole thing relatively soon, maybe before the end of this calendar year. Either way, things are going to start moving fairly quickly from now. In other news, the UX300e has literally launched today, so if you want your Lexus with a full battery electric powertrain, you can look into this car. But if you want a plug-in hybrid, this one's coming, and it's coming pretty soon. Keen to know your opinion? Let me know down below in the comments. While you're there, make sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell. And as always, thanks for watching Chasing Cars.